And it took you 10 years to stop it? Only when NATO killed 23 Pakistani soldiers, they didn't do by accident. They launched an attack on the Pakistani post while he was sleeping to send a message to you that that's it, the friendship is over, we're coming to attack you now. So only when that happened, now you're going to stop them from transiting the territory of Pakistan with supplies for the NATO troops in Afghanistan? How could you be so stupid to hand over 3 military bases in Pakistan to the United States so that drones could go and from above, pilotless drones, and killing our people innocently? And now, when the knife is about to cut your throat, only now you're waking up. When the attack on Pakistan takes place, I think they already know what's going to happen. So all of these Pakistani Zionists, I call them Zionists, probably already have their suitcases packed. Like they did it in Saigon. And they'll all be flying to Miami and to Los Angeles and to New York to spend the rest of their miserable lives. These traitors. But I'm not talking about them tonight. I'm talking about the Pakistani people, as poor as they may be. In their poverty, they still love Islam. And they hate the government of the United States, which has been committing aggression and oppression with deception after deception. Feelings in Pakistan have reached fever pitch. They know in Pakistan the attack is coming. My advice tonight to them, if it is not too late, I don't know, what can you do? My answer is, if you are to win Allah's help, you got to put your house in order. You got to abandon those who are fighting over sectarian issues. Stay away from them. Get away from these people. Deobandi versus Barelvi. This sect against that sect. Treat these people as though they are a people who have to be cast aside. Don't keep their company. And try to bring once again, the fraternity of Islam. That these are all brothers and sisters in Islam, one people. Identify yourself as a Muslim. I am the student of Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fadlur Rahman Ansari, rahimahullah. He established the Alimia Institute of Islamic Studies in Karachi, Pakistan. And that's where I studied under him. And because of what he taught me, and the methodology of study that he gave to me, I'm able to do the work that I'm doing now. So you might want to go to his grave in North Nazimabad in Pakistan, Block B. Go to his grave and offer dua. This is halal, this is permissible. To offer dua that Allah might forgive him his sins, and grant him nur in his grave, and grant him Jannah. Ameen. Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari rahimahullah never joined in this sectarian warfare in Pakistan. Never. And he established the Alimia Institute as a non-sectarian institute. He was not Deobandi and the institute was not Deobandi. He was not Barelvi and the institute was not Barelvi. Let me repeat that to those who are now controlling the institute, where I studied and where I was once the principal. He established an institute which was neither Deobandi, nor Barelvi, nor Ahle Hadith, nor Wahhabi. It was Muslim. And he said himself, I am not Deobandi, I am not Barelvi, I am not Ahle Hadith, I am not Wahhabi, I am Muslim. That's his statement. And that's the way out for Pakistan today. To get out of this cancer of sectarian warfare. Number two, Allah made riba haram. Pakistan is miserably poor today because of riba. The paper that you're using as money in Pakistan, the rupee, is bogus, it's fraudulent, it's utterly haram. And it's a vehicle of riba. Your ulama in Pakistan have not been able to recognize that all these years. Go look for those scholars of Islam in Pakistan who can recognize that paper to be bogus and fraudulent and haram. Who can recognize so-called Islamic banking to be delivering riba through the back door. Who can recognize that membership in the United Nations organization and submission to the Charter of the UN is a recipe to slavery. Who can recognize that membership in the International Monetary Fund, which prohibits the use of gold as money, is a recipe for slavery. Look for such scholars of Islam and follow them. And also for the people of Pakistan, get out of the cities, go to the countryside and seek to produce your own food to sustain yourselves in a tomorrow that is coming that's going to be horrible. Let us now turn to implications for the United States of America. As soon as Israel attacks Iran, and my opinion is that Israel is not going to attempt to deliver a knockout blow. Israel will attack Iran in order to commence wars that she hopes will follow one after the other. As soon as Israel attacks Iran, the first implication is that Iran is going to attack Iraq. And Iran is strategically poised, advantageously poised, to attack the United States in Iraq. As soon as Iran is attacked, Shias around the world are going to respond with solidarity with Iran. And that includes the majority population of Iraq, which is Shia. What about the Sunni in Iraq? The Sunnis are waging a war against the United States. They want to get the United States out of Iraq. And if Iran attacks Iraq, the Sunnis are going to also intensify their attacks on the United States. And so the United States is going to be in a no-win situation in Iraq. You'll be facing enemies fighting you on all sides with no friends around you. None. I don't think, and I hope and pray, I don't think that NATO will succeed in getting the Turkish government to act so stupidly to attack Iran. I don't think it's going to happen. No. And let us pray that the Turkish government is not ruled by fools. And so NATO and the United States in particular are going to be faced with war in Iraq that they cannot win. And they can lose. They can lose. And this is what Israel wants. This is what Israel wants. But there's another battlefront I want to turn to now. And this is where we need our military analysts. I wish we had some here tonight. That Iran is also likely to attack Bahrain. And it should not be difficult for Iran to take Bahrain. Bahrain cannot stand up to an attack from Iran. Bahrain is just across the water from Iran. I am suggesting to you that Iran is going to attack and take Bahrain. And if and when Iran attacks and takes Bahrain, then there's a causeway between Bahrain and Saudi Arabia where you could drive back and forth. The road will be clear to Saudi Arabia. I am anticipating, and the Saudis probably already have their plans laid out very well, because they know what's going to happen. And Israel already knows what's going to happen. That they're then going to turn to the United States to invoke whatever secret agreements they have of defense. That the United States has to intervene in Saudi Arabia to protect Saudi Arabia from an attack from Iran. I think the Zionists in the US Congress will ensure, even though the US armed forces would not want to go in there, even though the Barak administration would not want to go into Saudi Arabia, the Zionists in the US Congress will ensure that American forces will have to enter into Saudi Arabia to face Iran. I'm also suspecting that they might do the same thing with Pakistan, to force the Pakistani political leadership and military leadership to follow some secret agreements they probably already have, to bring Pakistani troops into Saudi Arabia to face Iran. If that happens, number one consequence will be the United States will be facing two fronts where they're going to lose the war. The first front will be Iraq, and the second front will be Saudi Arabia. And Pakistan will be facing defeat in Saudi Arabia and civil war in Pakistan. In order to save the United States from defeat, Israel will have to intervene. And so history will repeat itself for those who have been reading Jerusalem in the Quran. In order for the passage from Pax Britannica to Pax Americana to take place, you remember? The First World War had to take place. And in the First World War, the Germans brought in their submarines. And Britain, the island, was marooned, surrounded by German submarines. And Britain would have lost the war. And at that critical moment, the Zionists then brought the United States into the war, despite the efforts of men like Henry Ford. And when the United States entered into the war, then Britain was saved from defeat. But the consequence of that was that Britain was no longer the ruling state in the world. And the transfer of power from Britain to the United States was well on the way as a consequence of that First World War. So I am suggesting to you that the planning that is now taking place is a repeat of what happened then. That they're setting a trap for the United States, so that the United States is going to be led to a situation where it's going to be facing defeat in Iraq and in Saudi Arabia. These are my opinions, you don't have to accept them.